excellent. Oh, excellent. Whoever remembered to do that. It has not been my forte today to remember to record. So we respect people's marginalized identities and avoid oppressive language and actions. We don't assume anyone's race, disability, gender, or pronouns. If you don't know someone's pronouns, you can ask them. I'm gonna pause just so that the visuals come back for us. Thank you so much. If someone points out something we said or did was harmful, we avoid getting defensive, correct the harm when possible, and aim to do better next time. Remembering to make space and take space. So if you tend to be someone who talks a lot, make space for others before sharing. And if you tend to be someone who doesn't share a lot, we encourage you to. And keeping yourself muted when it's not your time to speak. Thanks so much for sharing our community agreements, Dee. So without further ado, we want to share more about what you can expect is going to happen over the next hour and a bit. The zine launch, you're going to hear from the readers what are their beautiful, wonderful versions of the Queer Lefty Yiddish Future, and see how the zine committee shaped each of their words for the zine with really cool collage art, and a little bit about the process of making the zine and what inspired it, as well as an art talk with one of the artists who submitted art for the zine. And is there anything else, Jake, that you want to share about what folks can expect?
Poetry, and we'll get to see the beautiful collages that everyone made. And yeah, very excited to see the zine and share it in real time with you together.
Yeah, it's definitely really exciting to get to, like, I think only 4 people have seen the zine at this point. Not even most of the performers have seen what we did with their poems and how we made it into collage art. So it's going to be a big fun reveal for everyone. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our first performer. Yeah, I think, Jake, you're gonna introduce them for us.
Yes. So Mesomones is a performance artist and writer. They create from the radical radiance of Jewish mysticism, Yiddishkeit, and queerness. And you can find them on Instagram at Yiddish_mommy and on Facebook at MXMones. So we're very excited to see your reading.
Hello, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being here, and I'm so excited to see everything. I'm Mazel. I'm a pale-skinned person with short, dark hair in Philadelphia and Lenape land. And I'll go ahead and share. Ooh, oh my gosh, the art is so cool. I just saw it.
So this is the cover, which I will briefly describe. There are letter cutouts in black and white on an orange background, and there's a very like floral motif with I feel like this very inspired by like Shavuos paper cutting. They're like windows in the orange and pink floral and heart motif with like a blue background and a green border. There's a lot going on. Maybe Jake, who made this title page, can share more about it after. So flipping the page, I'm gonna describe, oh, I did, let's pause share for a second. I realized I forgot to give a crucial information to our wonderful screen share, Dee, which is that we need to see the PDF in 2-page spreads. So you're all gonna hold tight and or maybe learn some new technical information about how to view a PDF as a 2-page spread. But there is a setting that you can actually go to while the PDF is open. And let me see. So if you go to File, View. Oh, and then there's one more thing you need to do. So if we can stop that share one more time, because we want the 2-page spread to not include the title page. There's one more setting to change for 2-page view, and you have to toggle show cover page. And then the cover page is separate and the inside pages all get doubled. So we said we were going to show you a behind the scenes process. This is as behind the scenes as it gets. Like this is how we put the zine together in digital format.
Maybe I'll step in and talk a little bit about the collages while they figure that out. So what we did was we divided up the submissions from these different wonderful contributors, some of whom we're seeing today, and then we each went away and found images and found different things on the internet or on paper, and I think each person worked a bit differently, but I printed things out and then I cut them up and combined them with different images. So I also made the Mazel's collage, which unfortunately I can't remember what that background came from. It's been a bit too. And the cover was also inspired by the Shavuos tradition. So Shavuos is the Feast of Weeks, 7 weeks after Passover. And there is an almost forgotten tradition from Galicia, which is a region straddling the border of today's Ukraine and Poland, where people would hang up these cutouts in the window and along with also a lot of foliage and flowers and various different things, but making a flower out of paper was seen as somehow more Jewish than an actual flower. So that's how it started. And this summer, no, it wasn't summer, it was Shavuos, whatever month that was, we had a little paper cutting hangout where we made some of these, and I think the collaging of the zine happened shortly after that. Okay, looks like we've got some screen sharing coming. Great.
So yeah, this is the first 2-page spread, and there is a black and white background of, I don't know if it's like fruit shells, but they're very round, and the text is pasted over top. Take it away, Mazel.
All right. Thanks so much. So I'll read this first poem, and then there's 2 other, I think, shorter ones that I'll just go through together. Should I give any like preamble, or I guess we'll chat about it later? What are your thoughts, Fragel?
Whatever you feel is best. You could jump into poems and then we'll chat.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in. Oh, inhabitants of exquisite unknowns, this is a song of songs for you. For you who yearn for vastness and wade through wilderness and live and love in liminal luminosity. For you who carry homeland in your hands, this is a song of songs for you. For you who move and morph in holy motion, for you who are the tabernacle itself, For you who are a constant deconstruction and reconstruction, a seer and freer and harbinger of the expanse, of the exodus urging at the edge of each hour. Your eyes are ever-splitting seas, your covenant is wild, you perpetual revelation. Who is like you? Luminous, liminal love. I can think only of the eternal itself, for you dance and dream far past this world, bringing forth light and life anew. So let there be a song of songs for you, O inhabitants of exquisite unknowns. That's that first one. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I love this. Bursting and thirsting and glistening with grime, sparkling sacred smut sublime. Scroll. Thank you. I'm dreaming of a song of the people beyond place, of the nation beyond state, of the fringes of history. Yes, this is a song for the temple of our tongues. And those are the poems.
Amazing, Mazel. Thank you. Yes, you read with such passion. I'm gonna do a visual description of this third zine spread. There is background collage of parts of a map, more of a global map, and pieces of like a city highway map on top of that. There is a tree and pillars at the bottom and some leaves. And just to go back to this middle, the two poems, this spread, it took me a moment to figure out what I was looking at because we were like very zoomed into some like dark red, pink inside of a flower. There's a very sensual vibe going on here. I love it. What do you think, Jake?
I love hearing visual descriptions of my collages. It's so much fun. Yeah, it was such a wonderful reading. So great after having that sort of artistic, poetic um, collaboration, with that actually knowing each other. It was really great to hear the words. So thank you so much for that. And also, yeah, it's just another layer, this audio layer, and the look on your face, and yeah, all the different senses. So that was really um, special. So thank you so much for sharing it with us and with everyone who will get to read this scene.
Yeah, so wonderful to be a part of it. I'm obsessed with the graphics. It's gorgeous.
And was
Thank
there
you.
any background that you wanted to share, Mazel? You mentioned at the top.
Sure, and should I speak to the questions as well?
Yeah, like if the question of what is your version of the queer lefty Yiddish future was, resonating for you as you made these pieces, like how did that inspire these poems of various lengths?
Totally. So the first poem is something I wrote maybe 3 years ago around Pesach over Passover and Shavuot, and kind of surrounding those themes of like Exodus and wilderness. And when I heard the call for this zine, I definitely felt like it was very resonant with that piece that's very much about the kind of ever emerging wild futurism and dreaming and I feel like throughout the pieces, they all have a kind of like holy here-ness theme or divine doikite, as I like to call it. Um, the last piece is like a very short blurb of like a way longer poem about like queer klezmer stuff, and then this middle piece that we're looking at is just like some random thoughts that I thought were resonant. But definitely, I feel like the kind of sacred, profane, and both like heaven and here-ness are resonant to me in both like past and future and then and now, and the sacred smut sublime, and yeah, just ever like pushing into the exquisite unknown and chasing after it and inhabiting it and drawing backwards and forwards at the same time.
Yeah, I love that phrase that you use, divine joykite. That's really wonderful. Well, let's give a big round of applause to Mazel from everyone. And I'll pass it back to Jake to introduce our next reader.
Thank you so much, Mazel. That was really wonderful. So our next reader is Netta J. Rose. And Netta is a queer, non-binary Ashkenazi Jewish actor, visual artist, and writer based in Toronto, who believes in community above all. They are the host of Queer Broadway Karaoke, on stage monthly at Buddy's and Bad Time Theater, and can be next seen in Merchant of Venice, presented by Shakespeare Bashed. Wow, I'm curious about that one. Follow them on Instagram at netta.j.rose. Take it away.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, that's so amazing that we're from the same city, and I'm not sure that we've met. So I feel like we're gonna have to yeah,
I was thinking that too. I
figure
really
out how to
look
meet
forward to
since
meeting you in 3D.
we're actually local. I'm gonna describe this page and then I'll throw it back over to you, Netta. I'm just gonna describe the left side for now. We're gonna look at the right side next. But on a purple outer background and orange middle background is some text, and then there's also cutouts of like lovely, bright, colorful, like vegetable produce. Yeah, it's making me hungry. So yeah, thank you. Over to you, Netta.
Thanks so much, Friggle. We are building a world. Oh, I guess I should introduce myself first, huh? And do a visual description. Okay, cool. You can see how if you well, visually what I will describe is I'm a white person with a shaved head whose face is currently turning very red for being spotlighted. I am wearing a black turtleneck with a purple button-down shirt over top of it. And in the background, you can see a blue wallpaper with a pattern of trees, a gold mirror, and some paintings. Now I'm going to read a poem. We are building a world of bread, of challah and pita and bannock and saj sprinkled with zatar. We are building a world where everyone is fed, joyfully full, and everyone feeds others, and the doors are open, and no one is a stranger. We are building a world of trust. We trust in the land. In land we trust, in the people who love the land, who know it in dreams and dirt and reborn, never dead languages, who never left the land even when they could not touch its soil for generations. We are building a world where fabric is woven in traditional colors and in rainbows, trans pride, kippot, and kufiyah, and hands are held and held and held, where grief and joy are honored in equal measure, and fear is held in warm arms until it becomes bread. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can see your queer future already right there, the queer Yiddish, or not only Yiddish, future. And I love this. I can smell the bread. Um, did you want to say anything specific about how what vision you had and how that related to the writing process?
Sure, yeah. Thank you. I'll share that this poem was written while on a Zoom call, not unlike this one, a gathering from around the world, although many of the people were in Turtle Island. It was called Chala for Ceasefire, organized by a pair of wonderful organizers and poets and artists in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I don't know how I got invited to it. I don't know how this event crossed my desk. But somehow I ended up on this call last January with this wonderful group of Jews who are very passionate about an end to war and genocide and occupation. And we got together on Zoom and we all baked in our own homes while talking and taking concrete actions. And we were given a poetry prompt as part of that, with the idea that building the world we want to see is part action and part imagination. And, you know, as artists, part of our role in building the future is to imagine what that future could look like. And so the prompt we were given was, "We are building a world." And this is what I wrote in about a 5-minute speed writing session while the fellow was proofing. And so when I saw the call from Rad Yiddish Zine, it's exactly that, the idea of building the world that we want to see. As I mentioned, I live on Anishinaabe land in the north of Turtle Island, Toronto, in Canada. And I think a lot about what it means to be a settler and living happily, peacefully, helpfully on somebody else's land, you know, which is something that we as Jews always have to think about, and not just in a post 1948 world, but, you know, as travelers, as wanderers. That's, you know, our relationship to land is very particular. And I thought about the idea of reaping a harvest and planting the land, feeding each other from the land, having respect for land and for the people who steward the land, for Indigenous people wherever we're living. Um, and how through that we can let go of some of the fear that has forced us, or that has created a situation where we turn inward and we think more of security than of community. I really loved the phrase that Mazel used as well, divine doikite, and I think that's exactly what I was trying to capture in this poem. So thank you for articulating it so beautifully. I think I want to get that tattooed on me now.
Thank you so much for sharing the poem. And unfortunately, I can't remember exactly who made which collage, but I can hear some of what you were saying reflected in the beautiful produce behind your words. And so it's interesting to think about. Also, someone has bread rising or baking in the comments so they can smell your poem in person. Um, anyway, so thank you so much for making the dough that can rise into this zine. We have to move on, so thanks again, and I'll now move to a little section of promoting some of the things that are going on and then also ongoing. So Fragel, hold on, Fragel, so first of all, can you tell us a little bit about Rad Yiddish, which is the organization or the group that has made this project happen?
Absolutely. Yeah, so there are two organizations that
I
are
was going to ask about them one at a time, but sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Rad Yiddish, let me tell you about Rad Yiddish. Rad Yiddish is based in Toronto and online. We are a meetup of Yiddishists who want to learn Yiddish in a non-hierarchical way, each teaching the other, especially looking at Yiddish materials from the Jewish left that have some kind of feminist, anti-racist, leftist content. So we started as a reading circle, but we put on all kinds of events like singing circles and workshops and a Queer Yiddishist Shmuas Prize, which is a queer Yiddish conversation practice circle. And we put that on with Queer Yiddish Camp, who is also co-sponsoring today's event. And Queer Yiddish Camp is, we put on events that are led by queer Yiddishists. We also put on once every couple of years a 2-week intensive, which just started today. And some of the participants and faculty from that 2-week intensive are also here. We're so glad that you're joining. And this is one of our public events as part of that 2-week intensive to bring our wider community into the work that we're doing. And with that, I also want to say that our intensive program is one of the only ones that is really striving to make it accessible for people of all financial abilities with access needs that are often unmet by traditional Yiddish institutions. We have captioning and ASL interpreters and Yiddish transcribers and things that we really value having as a community. Accessibility is really important to us, and those things cost money. So we currently have a fundraising campaign. We're raising $10,000 to support the program that just started today. We've been fundraising for a while. We are a significant amount of the way towards our goal. And we also have a matching donation from an anonymous donor who really supports the work we do. So every dollar you give is doubled. And there are links in the chat if you want to give in US dollar or Canadian dollar. If you're outside of US or Canada, you can click on either link. We will still take your money. So any amount you're able to give, we really appreciate it. These programs really depend on community support. So with that, I will pass it back to Jake to introduce our next reader.
Thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing to make these things happen, both personally and you, plural, everyone involved. And also a lot of people are here behind the scenes today. As someone who's not as deeply involved in these projects, I was just amazed to see the number of people who showed up in advance, who are moving things around technically and copying and pasting things into the chat. And so even if I don't know all of your names off the top of my head, if I just met you, but thank you for all the work that you're doing right now and also over this whole Queer Yiddish Camp time. So our next reader is Chaim Elazar. Chaim Elazar is a poet working in several languages, a fervent diasporist, and a pomegranate enthusiast. Milgroim, sorry, just to jump in, Milgroim is also a very classic Berlin Yiddish magazine from 100 years ago, so I was happy to see the name. Milgroim, which means pomegranate in Yiddish, is about the holy intersections of Doigkeit and Fegelkeit, or here-ness and queerness. Let's give it up for Chaim Elazar.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, from the beautiful city of Leeds in northern England. I am Chaim Elazar. I am a short, round-faced white man with curly dark hair and a beard. I am wearing a light blue yarmulke and an olive green and white Palestinian keffiyeh. And I have glasses. I'd like to start my reading with
I'm going to describe your slide the page of
Please.
the zine that your text is on, and then I'll pass it right back to you. So we have a collage on at the top. There's like a sunset, bright yellow sun on a pink background in the upper left corner, and then to the left side, it looks to me like misty mountains, a lot of blues and grays, and then towards the bottom, sorry, that was on the right side. And then towards the bottom left, it looks like some old buildings and a stone wall, and that's in like a yellow gray color scheme.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to start reading in a minute. I have two very quick acknowledgements. One is a acknowledgement of the Palestinian poets, past, present, and future, who have continued to write and to publish through occupation, through violence, and through genocide. I send my solidarity. And the other, so one is a giving of solidarity, and the other is thank you for solidarity. I'd like to thank Jake, the Tyre and Kreftiger Yiddish Futures, so a dear and strong Yiddish scholar, who corrected the grammar in this, because Yiddish is very much not my first language. And he very kindly agreed to edit it for grammar and comprehension, and I'm very grateful. So that's good. Wie a zwei heißt das Land, dein Guff, kein schon Vaterland. Sein Matt gezeichnet durch mir, nur durch die Kartographie von Feind. Sie halten ihre Diagnosen von natürlicher Erscheinungen, deine Wunden, Vermerkpunkten. Mir, was wir sehen in Goles Wesen, als die einzige Medina, ist dein Guff, das gute, gedeuerte Land, was der Eberste hat dir gegeben. Dein Land hat nur Gräumen, siehst scharfe, Geschmacke, heilige. Die Sline rinnt mir vom Mäuel und meine Lippen werden reut. Dein Land ist ein Platz von Räuch und Weirach, ein Platz vom Säudes. Wo wir zeichnen deine Mappe zusammen mit die Hand von die, was wissen, als wir machen unser Heim in der Zeit und kein schon Ort. Danke.
I think we need the next slide there.
Thank you so much for that reading. It was really great to hear it out loud, and yeah, to those pomegranates. I'm just we're in the middle of pomegranate season, so I got stuck in on that. Can you tell us a little bit about your process writing the poem?
Sure. So, if we're talking about queer, lefty, Yiddish, and future, queer was the starting point here. And in fact, when I first wrote it, I sent it to a couple of my friends to read, and the subject line of the email was, "Do you want to read a poem about a pomegranate?" And so, it started off as about queerness. And it sort of turned into more than that, as poems do in writing. And I'm really stuck on this idea of diasporism and Gaulis and not having a national state as a positive thing, as a positive future. One of my rabbis has a saying that he loves, which is, "We have no homeland but our Torah." And that's the sort of spirit I brought to writing this. It's a religious Jewish perspective, but an anti-Zionist one, and one that sort of situates Gaulis as the place where I need to be and where I want other people to be with me. And it's also, writing it in Yiddish was very important to me because, you know, bear with me. A lot of writing about Zionism and a lot of writing about Jewish nationalism trades on nostalgia, or this idea of a longing for an ancient homeland, an ancient indigeneity, an ancient homecoming. And I do have a sense of nostalgia and loss and longing for a homeland and homecoming. But for me, it's actually pre-war Berlin and interwar Berlin because that's where my dad is from. They were forced to leave Berlin. Some of them, most of them got out. Many of them did not. And what I feel keenly is the loss of that world that they inhabited. That kind of interconnected European Jewish life before the Holocaust. What it was is gone, but something very similar could happen again. That is
well,
the
if you ever
future
come
in which
visit,
this will take place.
if you ever come visit, we can walk through the Jewish neighborhood together. I give walking tours here in Berlin, so we'll have to talk another time about that. I'm very interested to hear about your family. Unfortunately, we have to move on. We are slightly behind schedule, and it was really, really wonderful hearing your words out loud and also hearing the thoughts behind them, and you know this grappling that we're all doing with these questions of Gullus and home.
I'm gonna take you up on that that offer for a walking tour, and I'm also going to describe the second slide for everyone. So on the left side, we have like a bright red purple burst zoom in of some kind of aster flower, perhaps. At the top, and then at the bottom there are some like pinnate leaves, almost like fern maybe, with like little short leaves. And then on the right side, in a circle cutout, is a forest with trees and a blue sky, and then behind that is sand. And all of that is on like a mustard yellow background. And the Yiddish and English cutouts are laid on top. So big round of applause for Chaim. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Chaim. Our next reader is A. Nish Savino, who's an Italian-American Jew bumbling through beginner Yiddish, making up new folk dances and slinging zines. And Nish was also involved in the zine. So if you will take it away with this art presentation, unless you'd like to have more of a dialogue, it's up to you.
Hi, folks. I can start with a short visual description. My name's Nish. I'm sitting in my writing corner, so it's very cluttered. I won't describe all the tiny objects. Feel free to imagine them. And I have brown hair, pale skin, brown eyes, wearing a black sweater and a black and white kerchief around my neck. I really am so excited to share this piece. It was a very long process to create this piece. Composition, both in paper collage and digital, and really just describes my feeling in diaspora and how my family has kind of carried parts of that with us. The text around the rainbow spectrum of hearts in a circle shape says many hearts, one circle in English. And in Yiddish, if I can remember how to read it, Asat Hartzen ein kavod, which is a hopefully rough pun. Kavod meaning a dancing circle, and I'm open to corrections on my pronunciation if applicable, and up for dialogue if available.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you physically made this beautiful piece of art that we're looking at?
Sure. I found in my kit of collage materials a heart-shaped paper cutter. And while listening to some horrific news reports back in February out of Rafah, it was really important to process in a meaningful way. And I was literally thinking about the hearts of human beings. And this was a metaphor that I found in that exploration. And I'm pulling out the original here. It's all glued in a mosaic style on a piece of cardboard. I used some tacky and a little paint to kind of move the items. Definitely felt like a mosaic. There's hearts you can't see layered underneath the ones you can. And then I was able to digitally import it and add the text around it.
Wow, such a wonderful thing to actually get to see you hold up the physical object. Thank you so much, and wow, and it
You're
really
welcome.
hearing what you were listening to is also really powerful in terms of the process of making this very intricate circle of hearts while we're all processing the same news in different ways. So yeah, thank you so much for the context and for the art and for sharing.
Thank you for the
Um,
opportunity. Glad to share.
I love this piece so much. When I first saw it, like it's just the vibrancy of the colors I was really struck by, and I was like, we have to make this the centerfold. It's just like it's really beautiful, and yeah, it just feels even more powerful knowing the like the context in which you made it and your process, like so painstaking. I know with my own art practice, like there can be so much like repetition and like just a lot of time doing something really carefully, but like through that repeated movement, a lot is able to like come out through the body and now onto a page that expresses so much more. Like, you know, it's like infinite colors of the rainbow, like captures so much more like than um, you could in just like doing something once in one particular way. I think there's something in the iteration, like you're like, I cut out all these hearts of all these colors. Yeah, I feel like the process just makes this
Yeah,
image speak to me and so many more layers. So thank you for sharing that.
you're welcome.
it also feels very much somehow like it represents the way this whole zine came together in a kind of microcosm, that you had a physical experience that was related to what was happening in the world, and you made it in a physical object, which then became digital and then came to us, and then Fragel actually, putting together everything in the digital form. So we're all going back and forth between these digital and
Yeah.
analog worlds, also with these kinds of events. So trying to move along, I now have the honor of introducing my own co-host. Our co-host, Fragel Gretzowski, is a non-binary, queer, multiply crip / mad post-Soviet, first-generation immigrant settler, white Ashkenazi Jew witch, whose people are from present-day Moldova. Faye is a writer and community-engaged arts and cultural producer who lives, dreams, and works on the Anishinaabe, Seneca, Wendat, and Mississauga land, as well as online. So, Frigel, what is your version of the Queer Lefty Yiddish future?
You never ask. So yeah, this is where I want to let folks know that like people submitted all kinds of poetry and art that makes up the bulk of the zine. And we also, the reason why we went with this title was because we held a fundraiser cabaret last December, and the theme was on Queer Lefty Yiddish Futures. And so when people sign up to perform, I thought it would be fun to ask them, each of the performers, you know, like what's your version of the Queer Lefty Yiddish future? And people submitted such beautiful responses, and I'm like, oh, like I don't want to be the only one reading this. I feel like this should become a zine. And so we put out a bigger call for submissions, and that's where all the poetry and art came from. But some of the kind of just responses made me also think about like, okay, how would I answer this question? So we don't have a visual, but I'll tell you my version of the Queer Lefty Yiddish future is one where our Yiddish cultural organizing is not separate from the ways we show up in solidarity for all marginalized groups everywhere. That going to a protest as a Yiddishist, organizing politically as Yiddishist is once again a common activity, one in which we are rooted in our diasporic cultural identities as queer, trans, crip weirdos of various racialized backgrounds, living, working, organizing, playing in multi-ethnic, multiracial, multilingual communities, where Yiddish is one of many, which I feel really connects to Nisha's piece, and one in which liberation for one means liberation for all, where many futures are possible. So yeah, that's what came up for me.
Thank you for sharing that with us, especially after asking everyone else the question. It's nice to have it turned back.
Yeah, and I want to maybe talk a little bit more about the Zine committee. So you were one of the people that ended up on the Zine committee. And how that happened was because we took in all these call for submissions, and then Queer Yiddish, Tamp and Rad Yiddish were busy putting on our events, and those submissions sat there for a little while. And Jake was like, what happened to my poem? And I was like, great question. We need to form a zine committee so that this zine can actually get made. Do you want to be on it? So you can maybe talk more about why you agreed. But Nish, who you saw in the last piece, was also on our committee and made some of the beautiful pages that you saw. And the fourth person who couldn't be here with us today, but I did want to introduce the whole committee, is Yankel Akiva. And Yankel Akiva creates art and magic to deepen the love and connection of Doyakai right where they are toward collective liberation. So that is Yankel's bio. Yeah, and I would love to talk more about what it was like being on the Zine committee together.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, I've made zines in person before, but I've never done this sort of digital analog process that like we had, and that was also really fascinating to see how people took the same sort of prompts in different directions. So I think between the two of us, I was more comfortable in the analog world. You know, I don't think I'm that much older, or I don't know how old we are, but I was more comfortable with this kind of sort of analog process, and I think you were more comfortable with the digital process. and somehow we met in the middle, and there was this really fun, yeah, just actually, I didn't have a working printer, so trying to figure out how to get things printed out, and looking through fun collage materials, which I think is something a bunch of us, not only the zine makers in this event, have a pile of old magazines lying around. Yeah, and it was really special to see what those submissions were, and then also to think about how to bring them to life in a different way with images that the person who wrote hadn't seen.
And I actually have to thank you, Jake, for inspiring a lot of the like cut and paste style of the zine. So like I've made like cut and paste from magazine and hand drawn, very analog, as you call it, Jake, zines before. And I've also made like totally digital ones that just got printed at the end. And I thought like, oh, we're all in different places and these submissions came digitally. It'll be like a fully digital process. And Jake was like, oh, but you can like actually cut stuff up and scan it and then finish it off digitally. And I thought that was going to be too complicated and too much work to ask people to do. But when Yankel and Nish joined the committee, I was like, are you up for like making some cut and paste collage pages? And everyone was really into the idea because who doesn't love playing with scissors and glue? And yeah, just like making some of the pages myself that ended up being scanned. I was like, this is a really fun way to do this project. Like, you know, part of it was like physically made in our homes, and then we like scan them in and like in Canva everything from our different physical locations got melded together.
Oh, I'm just gonna go get the actual collages since we're here.
I wanted to show some of mine, be like, these are the physical pages, but I left them at my partner's place in a different city. So
this is the cover.
yeah.
It's like it's from a book of tropical plants is the basis of most of the collages, and then I played with some colored pencils for the bottom layer, and this is the Mausol's one. It has Roman temple columns underneath, and this is from this is from a German map, I think, and this is from a book about the Australian Olympics, but it's in German for some reason. I don't know how good the lighting is anyway. And this one too. Okay, we should probably continue. Unless you wanted to say something else.
Oh, I mean, it's just really cool to see like the physical, like Niche also shared their like physical cardboard, and it's cool to see how things move between. And there were some pages I made where Jake, I think you were like, oh yeah, it's really obvious which ones were digital and which you got from a magazine. And then I was like, oh, is it? And then one of the pages that is actually going to be coming up, I think maybe in our next reader, that was a page of a magazine I cut out and then digitally put text onto. So there's also a lot of hybrid happening. So yeah, I just love the digital physical melding that is going on throughout.
Yeah, great. So so thank you to Nish, thank you to Yanko, and thank you to everyone else behind the scenes who's making this event. We'll thank them again at the end. Let's move on to our next reading, which is by Sasha Levine or Sasha Levin. Sorry if I've mispronounced anyone's name along the
All
way.
good.
I know I have. Levine?
Levin.
Levin. Sasha Levin is a white trans bi-aro ace Jewish non-binary poet. He enjoys gardening, foraging, and hanging out with their cat. Take it away, Sasha.
Hello. Quick visual description. I am a white non-binary person with short brown hair that's pulled back and pinkish headphones and glasses. And I am sitting on a pomegranate background. And wow, this art is lovely. I'm
gonna do a
yeah.
description of what's going on here. So on the left panel, yeah, it's very like kind of simple line illustrations and very saturated colors overall. A lot of, so there's like a couple charred leaves with like a pink stem and green gray leaf face, and then there's like a pink and orange cup of tea being poured into a bowl with 3 yellow stars on it and a blue spoon. And then on the right side, there are people in brightly dressed outfits with different skin tones, and they are holding really tall sticks with like floating lips and like teardrops at the ends of them, and the text is pasted on top.
All right. Is there an extra page for mine? Because I think one of the stanzas might be missing.
Yeah, there are more pages.
Sounds good. I was like, oh no. All right, I'll get started. Sourdough and tea roses, parsnips and beets, Vanen crying through our singing, marching in the new season's blessing. We devour Dibloa Yagdis, the blueberries, our tongues, stained indigo. We raise our cups to Miriam, finger-stained prayers. My body is remade in the image of the creature God made me. Every day we remake our bodies. We become us forever and forever. My lesbian rabbi is wise, the teacher she always should have been. She divorces me from the parents who have long forsaken me. The flag covering the Magen David in filth and cowardice and shame falls into the earth where we planted the daffodils vibrant in remembrance. Diavelim, we who outlived. All of us are all right, not just the Kinderlach, the children. We sing resonant with justice and joy. There is bread enough for all of us every day and every night. The olive trees are growing in Palestine. The women are graying, and the children are playing, and the men are praying. Everyone at shul wears a mask. We protect ourselves, each other, everyone. Our town, ourselves, are not riddled with hate. We are happy, but we'll just sit in the dark. Hand in hand, we pull the horseradish for Seder from the garden. We are dancing to Emma's revolution, building and building and building the world.
Beautiful, thank you. I am going to describe just the left panel that you just finished off reading. So it has like a very impressionist painting vibe, a lot of like palm trees in like pale tones of like yellow, orange, green, blue, and pink. And the text is on top of that. And on the right panel, there is some line drawings of some plants and yeah, the names of the plants, but so that is art you can check more out of if you get the full zine.
Thank you so much for sharing that lovely poem. Yeah, really interesting to see the visual imagination of this future and the yeah, I love the detail in this last line of pulling up the horseradish from the garden. Maybe partly interesting because it's a bitter thing, you know. It's something that you is supposed to remind you of past sadness, but maybe in a way, the future, the optimistic future, is one in which the sadness is not current.
Yeah, it's also just this idea that like we can still have joy and bitterness together, and that's kind of what any, growth from trauma is going to feel like. It's not going to go away. I mean, and even just like moving a couple stanzas above, like the people who are in Palestine are also not in this future free of trauma because it's already happened, but the olive trees can be replanted and the families and the people can still live even if there's that grief. So I felt like it was important to keep both the grief, I guess, and the bitterness, and also just this joyful image. I have no visual imagination. It's just part of how my brain works. So for me, these images were coming out more as like feelings or sounds as I was writing them. So I love that they came into pictures for other people, and that was really cool. And I was also
Hmm.
thinking a lot about Leonard Cohen when I wrote this, which is why I just directly took that bit about filth and cowardice and shame, and it's from Lover, Lover, Lover. And for me, that song of his is kind of the one that has like tipped my view of him as an artist into seeing him as anti-Zionist, especially given the context in which he performed it in Israel in the 70s and how he spoke when he did. Like, it is very clear that there is, to me at least, that there is not this view of like Palestinians as an enemy who should be dishonored, but like that there's, dishonor in ourselves and our actions, whether we are just like American Jewry or Israeli Jewry, or whether like there's actually a connection to the IDF. So I don't know. I was feeling that a lot, especially hearing the news out of Rafah. That was just horrific.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I think the bitterness, you know, that this idea of remembering and commemorating and passing on these difficult memories from generation to generation. It's not just a Jewish thing. I think it's also very much a Palestinian thing. Okay, so I guess we will uh, move on. But I can't introduce the next reader.
That's because the next reader is
Thank you so
you,
much.
Jake. Well, thank you so much, Sasha. Let's give them a big round of applause as well. Yeah, and Jake Schneider, he, him pronouns, is a Berlin translator, cultural organizer, and writer. He serves as the founding Gabbai of the Shmulis and Vine, or Chat and Wine in English, Conversation Circle. Gives talks about queer Yiddish history and participates in various Yiddish-related projects. Last week for Halloween, he published an essay and poem about Feldmesten, drag, and remembering the dead on Pulling at Threads, which, if you don't know, Pulling at Threads, the website, is a wonderful resource created by Annie Cohen about a lot of Ashkenazi folk ritual traditions that are outside of the kind of liturgical canon, a lot of stuff that women and non-binary folks were practicing. So yeah, check out her work. And Jake Schneider can be found online at jakeschneider.eu. So I will also give a visual description of this slide before I turn it back over to you. So there's a lot going on here. What I see on the left and right, actually. There's a lot of rainbow flags. There are also, there's like a muscular torso underneath one of the flags on the left side. And there looks to be kind of like a hut, like an old building on the right side. And yeah, rainbow colors all around. And the text is pasted in Yiddish and English on top.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna read in Yiddish. Oi, wie ich denk nach der alte Zukunft, Anna Tefke, nach Schmuel Label Ogin. Der Anna Tefker Naches Parad hat in sich euch gewisse prickre Reges wie ein Abi-Wasserstädtel. Sicher trefft sich etwas an unbequemer Matze von Marsch zu Mark, stumm der Kente Pennemer, welche der Mannen in a schwursticken Begegnisch sie a welfischer Scheiernacht, in a zweiten Heint, was wollt gekennt sein der erste, Heintiker. Nur der kennt man da nicht allemen. Wer steckt denn hinter die Hinterlimaskes? Die Dragmalke oben an auf der purimdicker Estrade trug das synthetische Schädel, a schnierelig moi perlich, a znieste Kleid und Fischernetsocken. Ot singt sie, ich will lieb haben na Bochero. Ich will lieb haben na Bochero. Mit chassidische Hand. Hinter ihr hängt a räuchige Reklame, a Foto von a Frau mit Peis, an Eckbär und ein altzeitischen Rädeltelefon. Klingt doch an a Lesbianke. Über den Teuer von der Hauptschule hängt Hayar a viele der erste Regenbeugen. A Simen as Eibischter schickt beschum öffentlich kein Mabel, nicht geguckt auf unsere Mitzvahs. Der Rav halt gar a Drosche, nur behält sich hinter sein Bord und sein Targumloschen, hinter den Ständer, dem gezierten mit Rothschild-Logos. Uns verdrehen mir die Augen mit stiller Bänkschaft, noch die alte rätsendicke Sakones in die Beine schmoschesdicke Schottens, eder mis sof kol sof a Reus von Oren Koidisch. Fort in der sieben Sonnenschein scheppen mir a stetteldick Naches von anand, von der vielfarbig verschminkter Mischpoche, unser Landsmannschaftel da in der altneier Heim.
Wow, I love that so much. I'm gonna describe the visuals and then I'd love to get into your piece. So this one also has bright colors, a lot of blue in the background, and then there's columns, like old architectural building columns that are going horizontally across the page. And I feel like the bottoms of those columns may have ended up in another collage because they look familiar. I like this carryover motif. And then on the left, I'm seeing like some flowers and some kind of bird. My partner is a birder, so I'm really sorry if I get this wrong, but like, is it a parrot? Is it something else? I'm probably gonna hear it from her later. And then there is like a flag hanging down and like just a bit of someone's hand holding it. And then on the right side, over top of the columns, it looks like there is like a rabbi wearing a shtreimel, but like a kind of cartoon figure with a white beard. There's some Hebrew text covering their face. Their shtreimel has like rainbow colors across the top. And they're standing in front of like a big pride flag with the like the new one with like all the like black and brown pride and trans pride and is it the ace flag. I'm so sorry. I don't know what the yellow with the purple circle one is. I've not memorized all my flags, so feel free to correct me. Yeah, and then the Yiddish and English text. So what I love about this piece is that like a lot of the writing I do, I call like speculative, not just like speculative fiction about the future, but speculative past. And I feel like you're very much doing that in this piece, like taking the past that could have been and the present that could have been and like the future, and it's like all happening in this imagined place, but like in a different, like in a timeline that like could have happened in the past. So do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, first of all, I have to give credit to Shmuel Label Ogin. I'm forgetting his English first name. He has a different name, but anyway, he's a Yiddish writer based in I think he's from Liverpool and lives in London, but he writes about the world of the Shalom Aleichen's short stories, but from the present day, like what would have happened if these places were not did not lose their Jewish communities in the Holocaust, and so I was very much inspired by his idea of that. There's one guy who has a Beatles themed um, bar in the shtetl in his pieces. It really inspired me. But then I was thinking about these small town pride parades, and I don't know if you've ever been to one of like not a big city, but kind of a small pride parade, and how awkward it is, and all the people kind of know each other, and maybe they've previously like dated or something. I had a particular parade in mind, and I was imagining the Anatevka parade, Pride Parade, would be this very awkward, kind of sad, but also liberating in a certain way. And also, yeah,
Yeah,
imagining the rabbi.
I
Go ahead.
really love small town pride parades, in this case, shtetl pride parade. It's been years and years since I've gone to one in a big city. I find them overwhelming and corporate, but the small ones, it's like you're not, it's not a performance that you're putting on for other people to watch. Everyone is marching together and celebrating together, and it's like for ourselves. So I imagine uh, all of that happening through the maybe awkwardness. But yeah, I wanted to ask you too why you chose Anatevka, because it is specifically like a fictional shtetl in Shalom Aleichen's um, stories, specifically the Tevye the Milchiker, Tevye the Milkman, after which uh, Fiddler on the Roof was made. So it's a fictional place. So I was wondering why that made its way into this poem opposed to like a place on a map.
Yeah, and actually, even it's even more the layers of fiction are multiple because in the stories it's called Kasper Levka, and then in Fiddler on the Roof, which is based on the stories, they changed the name to Anatevka. And I was just imagining this is sort of our quintessential shtetl that we all imagine, which is from watching that movie, and the idea of updating it. So in a way, the updated version isn't real either, but it's like, it's you're just carrying forward this imagination. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, thank you for noticing that.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of plays a role in making it like a place out of time instead of being like, oh, this is the real history of the place and imagine if it could have been different. It's kind of saying like we're, just like Shalom Aleichem was a writer, we're like writing um our own story. So it doesn't like, it's not tied to a specific place, but we're still um yeah, like by visioning what could have been, we're kind of like living into it in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank
this is
you.
so I think just scrolling down, yeah, I guess I will pass this back to you for the more practical information for people how they can get our zine.
Of course. So we want to thank everyone so much for coming out to today's event and also let you know how to get the zine. If you purchase the zine alongside your ticket today, you will be sent that digitally after this event. Thank you so much for buying it already. We also will have the zine. It's already available up on our website as a 2-page spread version, a single page version, and also the plain text, no images. So you get all 3 downloads. Right now it's on our website for $18, and we intended to have it on our website for fully sliding scale, but that function is not quite working just yet. I am in touch with WordPress to fix that for us. So if you want to go ahead and buy it at that price, it's already available and the link is in the chat, but otherwise you'll have to wait till we announce that it's fully available. But yeah, we will be asking like 18 to 36 sliding scale / pay what you can, because we want everyone to be able to have access to it. And I want to remind folks one more time that we are still fundraising for the Queer Yiddish Camp Intensive. So please give generously. Every amount is being matched dollar for dollar for our $10,000 campaign. So please think about contributing to that. And if you enjoyed today's event and want to come out to more things we're doing next Sunday, same time, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we're having a panel discussion on reclaiming marginalized Jewish languages with Daf Ben David Youssef, Iris Belus, and Yunon Sanders, moderated by Nessie Alteraz. And they are going to be talking about Judeo-Arabic and Ladino language projects. I'm so excited to get to learn from them. A lot of what we do here at Queer Yiddish Camp and Rad Yiddish is think about how Yiddish fits into the bigger picture and is in solidarity with other marginalized Jewish languages. So we want to uplift the work that they're doing. So the link to get your sliding scale, pay what you can ticket is also in the chat. So thank you.
So is that it for the announcements? Sorry, I got distracted. I was reading the comments.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's lots of great comments. Well, we did just want to thank everyone on the Zine committee.
Yes, okay, I found my spot in our script. Okay, so a big thank you to all the Zine committee and all the Zine contributors, especially those who shared their pieces with us today. Mazel, Netta, Chaim, Nish, and Sasha, and thank you to my fellow co-host Fregel.
And thank you, Jake, for co-hosting and for your poetry and all your amazing collage art. We also want to thank our cart captioner, Corbin Dosty, our ASL interpreters, Adra Magidson and Madison DeSoto, as well as Inclusive Communication Services for their support. All of our Zoom techs for making sure everything ran really smoothly today. That's Dee, Zip, Molly, Dariana, and Hannah. Thank you so much. We also want to thank the Chaim Schwartz Foundation and CLES California's Yiddish Cultural Fund for supporting many of our events this year, including the Queer Yiddish Camp Intensive, which started today. And every one of you who came out to this launch party, who's already bought a copy of the zine and will be telling your friends to get a copy. So have a really great rest of your day and see you at our upcoming events. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. Seid mir alle gesund und stark.
Bye, gesund. Bye.